What's up, you guys? This is Warren with Scale Audio, and today we're going to make chords and scales easy. One of the biggest issues I see when people are trying to teach music is everybody wants to make it so complicated. It's really not. It's super easy. So let's check it out. So I am in my DAW here. I have my trusty dusty piano on the side. Let's take the complicated and boring stuff out of music. First things first, a scale is a row of notes that sound good when played in succession. It's that simple. Second thing second, a chord is a row of notes that sound good when played together. Did you notice something similar? They're both a row of notes that sound good together. Let's find a scale. So literally to find a scale, you can just start playing notes and you'll be able to tell. That didn't sound good. No. Oh, I messed one up. Wow, look at that. We found a scale. Now that we found that scale, we can play chords inside of that scale. These notes behind back here that I got are all the notes I just played for you. So now, if we play some of these in succession, or if we play some of these together, we've got chords. Now, notice if I play a chord outside of this scale, or some of the notes in the chord outside this scale, it's not going to sound that great. In the scale, right? Sounds where it's supposed to be. Kind of off a little bit there, huh? So when your chord doesn't match the scale, it'll sound like hot garbage or it'll complicate things. Don't overthink it. All you got to do is play notes until you find something that sounds good. Remember what those notes are, and then play your chords within those notes. And the way you're going to play those chords is just separate them by one. So I've got one here. Here's the next one in the scale. I'm going to skip it. 2. Next one. I'm going to skip it. 3. And that is how I came up with that chord. So for the sake of keeping it simple, congratulations. If you can play the chords inside of those scales, you now know every major, every minor, and every diminished chord across the entire keyboard. And let me explain why. What we just played was a major scale. Screw what major scale it was. It's just a major scale. You don't need to know anything else. You can now, since you know a major scale, play it anywhere on the keyboard. Do you want to be able to play it anywhere on the keyboard? Then you just got to remember one thing. The major scale follows a specific pattern. That is whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. That might not make sense to you, but let me explain. In music, when you say whole and half, that means a whole step or a half step. And that literally is just counting 1 or 2. So a half step would be from here to here. That is a half step. Now, as we can see, that's not one of our notes. So we know that's a whole step right there. The next one, that's 2 notes, another whole step. After that, that's the next note in our scale. That is a half step. Any major scale just follows that rule. So you can place it anywhere. All these notes are in the whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half pattern. So anywhere I move them, that is still a major scale. Put them up here, major scale. If you do want to learn the names, then it's pretty simple. Note you start at, and then this pattern is at the major scale. So this would be a C sharp major, okay? If I put it here, that would be a C major. You probably recognize this if you know much about scales. Let's go back to the piano roll here. Now we are, right? Same exact thing, same exact rules. Now, if you ever have trouble remembering this, literally just look at your piano. Just look at it. Right here, we'll see this is where we're looking and where we're starting at is the C. You got these two black keys right here. Start right out at the C. And this is going to be your major everywhere. It's the pattern, C major. These right here are going to be your giveaways, okay? You are going to start right here. whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. Half, you don't skip a note. Whole, you skip a note. That simple. Now, with this pattern, I want you to notice something. If I play a chord here, this key is 1, 2, 3, 4 away, okay? Now, if instead I play a chord here, that one's going to be 1, 2, 3 away. Now, what does that difference mean? That difference means major or minor. So this is a major chord when it's 4 away. Minor chord, 3 away. And if you'll notice on both of these chords, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The final note is 7 away on every single one of them. But what if it was 6 away? If we made it 6 away, it's not going to fit. It does, however, fit right here. Now, that may sound harsh, but if we look at the D and the F, D and F are actually in our scale. This is called a diminished chord. Because you know how to move this scale anywhere across the piano, and because you know how to play these chords within it, you now know every major, minor, and diminished chord across the piano. So no matter where you play this scale, your chords are always going to be the same across that entire scale. And the order is major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, diminished. Now, if you're brand new, you don't have to remember these. Don't become overwhelmed. Becoming overwhelmed is what pushes people away from music theory and learning these key components that will make you so much better of a musician. It's really not that difficult. As soon as it becomes overwhelming, just don't overthink it. Let go. This stuff, it'll help you a lot. It's easy. We got it. It's just cool for you to know that you now can play major, minor, and diminished chords across the entire keyboard on any note. These rules we just went over, they stay the same between the minor and the major scales. If you know how to subtract by 3, then you're good. So if you'll notice here, I've added 2 more notes. We started here on our C major scale, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna subtract by 3. We're down 3. Now, if we go from A3 to A4, we are now in a minor scale. Now you might say, but Warren, all of this up here is a major scale. It's the same notes. Everything is literally the same. So what happened? Well, this is called the relative minor. Every major and minor scale have a scale next to them that is relative to them. What happens is the human ear, when we hear music, we'll hear a note. It'll hear a tone or a tonic is what they call it, that it hangs on to, and it judges every other note based off of that note. So if that tonic is our C, then it's going to sound happy. If that tonic is instead our A, then it's going to sound a lot darker. Don't worry about the science behind it. Just understand that what your ear hangs on to, the key or the tonic or the tonal center, is what your ear bases everything off of and what makes it the difference between a minor or a major, even though it's all the same notes. Now, subtract by 3, minor scale for me. That's pretty much what we just did there. So now that we subtracted by 3, I want you to notice the pattern's different. It is now whole, half, whole, whole, half, whole, whole. It's the same spacing, except for we're taking this whole half, and we're taking that and putting it at the beginning. So now it's whole half, right? So you can still, it's all right here in front of you. You got your major scale. To remember the major scale pattern, subtract by 3, minor scale for me. We're going to subtract by 3, 1, 2, 3. Now if we play all the white notes, That's it. That's our pattern. Whole, half, whole, half, whole, whole. The whole half pattern will now be your saving grace all the way across the keyboard for any minor scale you want. Now you know not only all the major scales, but all the minor scales across the keyboard, along with every single chord that is affiliated with these all the way up and down the keyboard. The possibilities are endless, and it's really not that difficult. It's right there in front of you. Bonus round. When we're playing a major scale, we have this major suspense and release. Right there. Feel that suspense? Then a release. A lot of music is built around that suspense and release, and if you notice, you don't really have it in the minor scale, okay? We're gonna end, right? Versus so to fix that problem, way back in the day in classical music, people decided to shift up the last note. We now have just our minor scale here, and if I shift up this last note, now we have we get that suspense release right there, right? And this is called a harmonic minor. Now that we have this harmonic minor, we scooted up this note here, we have quite a gap going on. So what people did is they scooted up this note to help take care of the space. Now we have what's called a melodic minor. Now, what a classical musician will do is they'll actually play the melodic minor up the scale. They'll play back down, up, now, the reason they did this is because you get this suspense resolution at the top, right? But when you're going back down, you aren't getting that suspense resolution. So they didn't feel a need for you to have the scale changed at the top because this upwards suspense resolution is what we're looking for, and that's just not there on the way back down. So it just doesn't matter. They went back to natural minor. Composers nowadays will actually do both. Jazz musicians will just stay in the melodic minor and just play it up and down the entire time, you know, and the rules are kind of made to be broken anyways. So if it sounds good, if it's fun, do it. Don't overthink it. It's easy. This stuff's easy, especially once you start getting the idea and the concept behind it. Now, playing chords in the harmonic or melodic minor with those notes here shifted up is a lot more difficult than doing it in a natural minor, but you'll find some cool stuff. It could be an unlock. Give it a try and have fun and see what you come up with. There's many other scales out there, but don't make it overcomplicated. Make it easy. You got this. It's your boy Warren with Scale Audio checking out. Thank you, and if you enjoyed this video, please like, please subscribe, and I will see you later.